Alright, so here's an example from the exam practice problems, and the problem asks you to rank the following in order of greatest concentration of ions in solution. And so for this problem we are assuming that the same moles of the substance and the volume of liquid or solvent are the same. And so basically there are two steps to this problem. One of them is to determine the solubility for each substance. Okay, so we need to determine solubility. And then after that, we need to determine how many pieces or how many ions each substance dissolves into. Okay, so basically it's a two-step problem. We need to make sure it's soluble first, and then after that, we're going to look at the number of ions that each substance dissolves into when in solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with solubility. Okay, so going up here and looking at each one, we're going to use our solubility table to figure out which one is, whether they're soluble or not. And the first one is sodium chloride. And so basically for two reasons, this particular substance is soluble, because it has alkali metal and then also a chloride anion, and it's not with one of the exceptions. So this guy's soluble. Okay. Aluminum chloride, same thing. It's a chloride, not one of the exceptions, so this one's soluble. Okay. Magnesium hydroxide. Now, certain hydroxides are soluble, but magnesium hydroxide is one of the insoluble compounds. So this guy's insoluble. So if we check the solubility table, we would see that hydroxides are assumed to be insoluble unless they fit into one of the categories of exceptions. And then we also know that all compounds containing alkali metals, so sodium plus, those are soluble. Okay, so, and we could also check the sulfate category on our solubility table, and we would find out that sulfates are insoluble or soluble depending on what they're complexed with, of course. And so either way we would find that sodium sulfate is soluble. Okay. Alright, so that's the first step. Alright, the second step is to figure out how many ions each substance would dissolve into. Okay? And so let's look at, I'm going to erase this here, so let's get rid of this part. So we've done the solubility, and let's look at the number of ions now. Let's give us a little bit more room. Okay, so sodium chloride is going to dissolve into sodium plus and chloride anion. Okay, aluminum chloride is going to dissolve into aluminum 3 plus and 3 chloride anions. Okay. Magnesium hydroxide is insoluble, so this isn't going to dissolve at all. So essentially no ions are present in solution for that guy. Okay, and then finally sodium sulfate. This guy is going to dissolve into 2 sodium plus and 1 sulfate. Okay. Alright, so now we can go back through and count up the number of ions. Okay, so here's 2 ions. Okay, 4 ions and 3 ions. Okay, so we're getting there. Because now if we have the same number of moles of substance and the same volume of solution, then we would have the greatest concentration of ions for aluminum chloride, because it dissolves into 4 ions per mole of substance, so 4 moles of ions per mole of substance, where sodium sulfate would only give us 3 ions per mole of substance and sodium chloride would only give us 2. So if we rank these, let's go ahead and go from greatest concentration of ions in solution. So that would be, of course, aluminum chloride. Okay. And Oops, forgot my L there. Oops, that's... Okay, so aluminum chloride, then sodium sulfate. Okay, then sodium chloride, and then finally magnesium hydroxide. Since it's insoluble, it doesn't give us any ions in solution.